Good afternoon, YouTube. This is me all the way, George Page, aka the Emperor of Wrestling Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, I had some good news today, and and I shared it. I appreciate that. I appreciate all people that have been sending me the support. But I gotta tell some bad news that was, happened. We had a passing of a legend in the sport of wrestling. Now, many of you might not know her unless you are like of my age who grew up in a good part of the 80s and the 90s who appreciated women's wrestling in its early stages. This is one with Deanna Booher, if I want to remember the name correctly, but you might know her barely as Queen Kong or also Matilda the Hun from Glow. Now, Miss, I'm gonna call her, because everybody call her D. Miss D was born in California, August 6th of 1948, and she grew up like as a young woman who was very active. She was an athlete. This is why I try to talk about women in sports because women have a passion for sports just as much as men do, but they don't get enough recognition and attention to it. And she got into wrestling at a young age. She wrestled at the local junior college in her hometown, and she helped train the state champions. But there wasn't a lot of place for women in wrestling in those early years. So her a couple of her careers was she was in roller derby, was very popular. Also, she was a masseuse, and also she did phone sex operator. She was yeah, it's you got to make a living. But also, she wrestled in mud wrestling, which was very popular around about the 70s and the 80s, where women will wrestle in clubs and bars, in the mud. It's just you ever watch the movie Stripes with you know with uh John Candy and oh God, I hate to forget and he wrestled the girls and she wasn't in it, but it was a funny thing, but it was very popular back then, and that was her career. She wrestled in mud, but she being that not just she was a real wrestler, being and also she was a big woman. She was like over 6 feet tall, and she was not wrestling just women. She was wrestling men and holding her own. I mean, that's pretty good for a woman, and she really wanted to be a wrestler. So, she even wrestled from, she intergender wrestling, in those early years. She even wrestled a bear. I mean, she did a lot. And then her wrestling, she started getting into professional wrestling, when she started getting into more recognized organizations. Also, during that time, she was acting and performing. She also was a singer. She had a song called Eat Raw Meat. If you remember your Glow, how you used to come on sometimes, and some of the girls had little songs. She sung that, and she was an entertainer, and a performer. And she wrestled in different smaller organizations, here and there. But by the 80s, she really got recognition. So she started working for another company that we all know, which was Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Me and my brothers used to love to watch it on Saturdays, like after cartoons, and it was fun to watch. And we were young teenagers, we were young kids coming up. And she worked with a guy named Dave McClain. Her and Dave McClain had a good relationship. He, got her into the show, and then that's where we became the character Attila the Hun. And she was just one of the biggest, baddest women in the show. I mean, she was tough. I mean, she just was relentless. And it was just Glow was a great show to watch. Also, she wrestled for other organizations, Powers of Women's Wrestling. And Matilda was just one of those women who just was dangerous. I was a big fan of Matilda the Hun, but I like watching wrestling. And here she is, one of my favorite wrestlers, right here, the Spanish Red. Oh my God, I used to love Spanish Red. If you remember Spanish Red, she was a Spanish wrestler, Mexican wrestler. She come out in these red tights, and she wore the hat, and had the roses. I think she was so sexy. I mean, and after a while, when Glow ended, she kept on going, and she helped promote other companies and promotions, and she even kept on. She had one of the greatest rivalries in wrestling, which in Glow, was with her and Mountain Fiji. Remember Mountain Fiji? Now her name was Emily Dole, and her and Emily had a good friendship, but they were rivals also on the show. And there's a thing about this: Emily passed away back in 2018, the same day as Dee had passed away. in January 2018, 2000, January 2018, January 7th, 2018. And wow, that's just so close. That's just so, But they had a great rivalry. I used to love that fight between um Mountain Fuji and Matilda the Hun. I mean, they probably shake the rings when they both got in there. And like I said, after Glow ended, she worked for other promotions like POW. She did some movies and TV shows, to keep busy. One of her more famous movie roles was the movie Spaceballs. She made when she was a bearded lady. Spaceballs was like a comedy knockoff of Star Wars. She had it was directed by Mel Brooks, star Mel Brooks, so Rick Moranis, John Candy. It was a funny movie. Back then where comedy was comedy. And she was also in a movie called Death Stalker, where she played Amazon champion wrestler. It was Death Stalker 2. And then there was a movie called Slash Dance. Also, she was on an episode of Mama's Family, where her also Emily Dole was also they were playing tag team wrestlers, and they wrestled against Mama and Naomi. I remember that episode; it was funny. And she also did an episode of Married with Children with my man, Al Bundy, MVP, aka. God, I know, I know his name. I mean, I'm working so much, I forget his name, but I'm just going to say basically Al Bundy, MVP. And she was married. She had a husband named Ken, and Ken passed away a long time ago. And around about 10 years ago, her and a group of ladies from Glow came together and they did a little documentary. I saw the documentary. Both her and Emily were there, and some of the others. I think there was some that were missing, but I remember most of these ladies, and they were. It was great to watch. All these ladies I used to go and watch as a kid, and I had my, some of my had my fantasies about. And she also was a staunch supporter of wrestling. There was a situation around a few years ago where the Olympic committee was going to get rid of Greco-Roman wrestling, and she was very adamant about it. She did not like it, but it was saved thanks to the help of Billy Baldwin, one of the Baldwin brothers. And even though she had some setbacks, she had some a medical condition that really gave her some problems. It was sort of a kind of a deterioration because of she couldn't stand or walk anymore, and also she's dealing with lupus, so it was tough for her. But she still, traveled, went to the wrestling promotions, and also she did a lot of the fan wrestling events. I mean, she still was just one of these ladies that was a real fan of wrestling. And also she had a book, right here, Glamazon Queen Kong, the My Life of Glitter, Guts, and Glory. I mean, I think I might even check out and read it. I mean, I read Mick Foley's book. I mean, and she was just one of these women that, really was a true pioneer of wrestling. I put up there with, Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah, Wendy Richter. I mean, one of those great women who really, gave women a place in wrestling. And you know what? A lot of people owe her that. People like Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Awesome Kong, Miss Jackie, Jazz, Luna Vachon. The list of women owe her and so many others for being a pioneer. I mean, it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have shows like WOW, which is a women's wrestling organization, or Thunder Rosa's Mission Pro. You know, it wasn't for people like Miss Deanna Booher, aka the Queen Kong. Female wrestling wouldn't have a spot anymore. It would be still most of the women would still be just valets, and and not even just have a face or a name. And now women wrestling really has grown the last few years, and thanks to her and so many others. But it's just sad to lose a legend in just a week and a day into the new year. But death is inevitable. It happens, and you can't cheat it, no matter how much you want to or try. But to shout out to Miss D, aka the wonderful Queen Kong and the great Matilda the Hun. You will be remembered for what you have done and what you contributed to the world of wrestling. God bless you, ma'am, and rest in honor. It's your man all the way George Page, aka the Emperor. If you're about to talk, don't like, subscribe. I'm out.